Hello and welcome to the Beyond the Hustle podcast. My name is Lydia Wilmsen and I'm a mindset and business coach for high-achieving entrepreneurs. In this podcast, I share insights into how you can create a life of freedom, happiness, and personal fulfillment while increasing financial success way beyond what you have achieved with hustle alone so far. Plus, every other week, I interview inspiring and out-of-the-box thinking entrepreneurs. Have fun and enjoy. Welcome to today's podcast episode. And today I'm interviewing Farah Shammas. She is from Cyprus. We actually met on Cyprus, and she's the managing director of the Raphael Resort in Limassol. And I'm super excited, obviously, to hear today from her lots of input around business, lots of input around probably money-making activities and how to manage money, all of that. And also, because I know we talked about you having a cookbook for vegan recipes. So you have many different interests, and I'm super excited to get your story today on the podcast. So welcome, Farah.
Thank you so much, Lydia. And firstly, can I say it was a pleasure to meet you and a pleasure now to be on this call with you and be on this podcast. I'm super excited. Your podcast is great. I've had the pleasure of listening to a few episodes now and really insightful, interesting information out there. So I hope this one also will be interesting to all the listeners.
Yeah, definitely. When I think of what you bring to the table, definitely. So let's get started. And the first question I always ask is, tell a little bit about your story, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Okay. Well, you're right. My name's Farah Shammas. I'm a British Lebanese background. So my dad is from Lebanon and my mother is British. But then it gets even more complicated than that, which is quite fun. So my mom is born and raised in England, but is half German. Oh. So there's a bit of German blood running through my veins. And my paternal grandfather also was originally from Syria. So I've got a little bit of everywhere, product of the world, product of globalization, as many of us are nowadays. I was born in London and I spent the first 5 years of my life there. And then we moved to Cyprus because my grandfather had decided to invest and build a large 5-star hotel and marina in Limassol. And this marina also was the first private marina on the island, and is still an official port of entry. So it's fair to say that the yachting industry as such, and a lot of the marine industry on the island, people who fix boats and have a lot of interest in and around yachts, whether smaller or bigger, was born out of our marina. And my father's an engineer, so he came over to build projects for his father. We stayed for a few years, and then it was decided that we would go back to England and have our education there. So we went back, and I went to boarding school as well from the age of 12. Cyprus was always home, though. We always spent all our holidays here. For me, the end of term meant packing up a suitcase and coming back here. So this was always my home. A lot of my family decided to go back to Lebanon when the war ended there in the late 90s, around 97, 98. But I stayed in the UK. I went to the University of Birmingham and did a degree in classical literature and civilization.
Interesting.
So very, very different from what I work in now. And then did a master's at the University of Surrey in tourism marketing because I was very keen on being involved in the tourism and hospitality sector and in our family business here in Cyprus. We also have some hotels in the south of England as well that my father invested in quite a few years ago now, maybe over 25 years ago. And so I studied that, and then I moved back to Cyprus and I started working originally as a sales executive in our family's hotel. And I worked my way up, and I am the managing director for the past 6 years now, going on 7, of Raphael Resort Marina here in Limassol, Cyprus.
Thank you for that introduction. What a story. I obviously have many questions now. So first, that means your grandfather, he was an architect?
He was an engineer.
Okay.
He was an engineer. He has many, oh my goodness, many hats. He was a very, very clever man and academic, actually. But he was a civil engineer, and he had a large construction company, which still exists in the Middle East, called CAT, Construction and Trading. And that was his background.
Oh, okay, I see. It's all started basically then with the marina, or at least for you with the marina, and what came from that in Limassol. It's basically between Paphos and Larnaca on Cyprus.
Yes, exactly. In the south, in the very, very south part of the island. We're on the eastern part of Limassol, which was quite... what's the word? There was a lot of foresight in that. So my grandfather purchased this area, this big piece of land, and really insisted with the government he wanted to build a marina, that he didn't just want a hotel. And he said at the time, you'll see, this will be the most sought after area in Limassol. And indeed, it's become, the prestigious area, really beautiful. So he wanted to build a resort hotel, but it was with a marina. And that's why it really is a resort. It's not just, a typical hotel that you'd find anywhere in the world. We've also recently had a new addition, which is very exciting. Just over a year ago, we completed our residential tower, which is a 14-story, beautiful tower of luxury apartments. And it also is home to my new baby, which is the Golden Monkey Thai restaurant. It's an authentic fine dining Thai restaurant that really is an experience in itself. So that was born as well recently. Yeah, the hotel has obviously an award-winning spa and 7 different restaurants, and we've got banqueting facilities and conference facilities and so much more. So yeah, it's an exciting project.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I talk a lot about intuition and all of that stuff on my podcast, obviously. And you just said it was foresight or whatever, that it all starts with an idea, all of that, what is there now, it wasn't there in the beginning. It just was an idea in his mind or whatever, and then expanded from that. And can you see that? What you say, your grandfather and obviously also your father and you, that it plays a role in how you do business, or what do you think it's necessary to have some kind of follow intuitive hints to grow bigger?
Well, I think it's a very interesting question. I think the important thing is to have vision. If you have a clear vision and you know what you want, then what you can achieve is very attainable. So my grandfather was always, he was unique. He was very clever. He had a lot of foresight, and he believed in what he was doing. And he really, really wanted to build this project. He'd originally wanted to build it in Lebanon, and then he decided to do it in Cyprus. And he had the option of buying, beautiful, ready hotel in Park Lane, London, which would have made a lot of money. But that wasn't his main reason. He wanted to leave behind something for his family. He wanted to leave a legacy behind. And he really believed in this unique opportunity and this project, and in doing something for the island that he wasn't from, but that he loved, and in leaving something for his family to be able to enjoy and have this asset for them and remember him by. And my father very much believed in that vision, and he carried that forward for over 30 years before he handed me the torch, so to speak. And he also created a lot of unique aspects to the resort. He kept building on that. We were the first to have a pillar-free conference room, for example, or do many, different innovative steps, in our industry. And now, in turn, I also have a vision for the hotel and moving with modern times. So my vision is to see the hotel take on a sustainable path and way forward, to really bring it into 2022 and onwards, to eliminate the use of plastic bottles, for example, to do our best with offering luxury, but in a sustainable way, and proving to people that you can have that. You can have the 5-star luxury. You don't have to go to an eco village retreat in the mountains, or, go camping to be sustainable. You can do that while still having beautiful environment and with all your add-ons. So this is where I see the hotel going towards in the next years, which is so exciting. And I'm really looking forward to this path and continuing the path of my grandfather and father and all the family members.
Oh, I love that. And that's a beautiful vision. And obviously, again, so many more things I could go into. Two things that popped into my mind right now were, because you mentioned luxury can also be, or to make luxury sustainable or whatever you want to call it. And you don't have to go into an eco village and have a sustainable experience. What if you like the vision of changing everything on this planet, and also having culture, having beautiful fine dining experience, all of that, but in a much more sustainable way than, of course, like when you think about the big hotels, what they use, it's crazy. So of course, there is a lot to change. And do you see that there is interest in the world of like higher, whatever, of big money and all of that to play a role in that, in sustainability, so to say?
Well, I think a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon. It is considered a trend now. So a lot of people are saying, yes, we believe in that. We're doing that. We're reducing our carbon footprint. But really, they're doing it just to save money themselves, or just to make sure that they're not seen as, the Grinch of, the sustainable movement. I think consumers are becoming more savvy, and they're more aware, more knowledgeable, and more demanding. But I still think consumers also have a way to go, and we have to be careful. So we can't just see something and say, oh, well, that's got a green label on, or that's as, sustainable in a hashtag, or that has vegan written on it, and therefore it must be great or good for us. It's not the case at all. And people are definitely looking more into, well, what do they actually mean by that? There's an expression, greenwashing things just to make it look more eco-friendly when actually it isn't. So I think people really have to consider that, both as the suppliers and also the end user. So the end user has to also be more demanding and say, well, okay, if you are sustainable, if you are green, show us, prove to us, then don't hide your numbers, be open about it. Whether it's a big or small business, on the other side also has to say, well, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm not perfect, but this is what I used to do. And I've made a huge step towards being more sustainable. I think it's very exciting to watch it happen. It's not happening as quickly as it should have, or it should be, but I think we are making steps in the right direction. And I hope more and more companies are definitely going to join in with this movement, because it's not a trend. It can't be a trend. The world is dying, and we all have our part to play, and we all have to do something about it now, not tomorrow, literally right now.
Yeah. Love that. Where does this come from in you? Like, what's the story behind your big interest in veganism, sustainability, all of that? Where does it come from?
Well, I'm an active vegan, or a vegan activist. I don't know which way around I should say it. On different days, different ways apply. So I have a platform called Cook Vegan, which originally I started on Facebook as just actually, to be honest, I was doing a bit of market research into the new developments on Facebook and how groups were becoming more and more in, and people were getting more into communities and being part of communities. And I decided to, just follow my passion. And loads of people always ask me, oh, what do you cook today? You're vegan. What do you make for your family? What do you cook? So I said, oh, let me just start a little group for a few of my friends to see what I make on a daily basis at home. And it was lockdown, I have to say. So obviously everyone was online, but within, I think, 3 days, it hit 1,000 members. And at this point, just over a year later, we're at 6.1 thousand members, which the most important thing is that they're active. Most of them are active. They are posting, they're interacting, they're asking questions. So it's a really fun platform to be part of. And if anybody's listening to this, please do join. And the nice thing about it is that most of the members are not even vegan. They're people who are interested in, well, who are vegans? What are vegans? What do you eat? Where do you get your protein from? All the normal questions that people ask. What do you cook for your kids? How do you know your kids are not malnourished? It's just quite interesting to see all of that unveil and how much interest there is out there. I do have an Instagram as well called Cook Vegan Insta, but it's small. I haven't really put that much effort into it yet. And I do have a YouTube channel called Cook Vegan that I do post on as and when I have time, just basically cooking and showing like different recipes. And I did make a cookbook last year, which was really fun. And that hit top 500 on Amazon, which was quite nice for a little self-published cookbook. It's called 40 Delicious Vegan Recipes. And it was also supporting El Guionides charity. So that was really nice to be able to give back. And I have a new cookbook coming out in spring next year called Theo the Pig, which is a children's story book and recipe guide for vegan and vegetarian kids. So yeah, that's a bit about what I do. So how I got into that, that's a bit of a longer story, but the synopsis of it all is that I personally have suffered from psoriasis and irritable bowel syndrome, among obviously other maybe more stress-related ailments. And I started my health journey, let's say, maybe 20 years ago, but slowly but surely I started realizing what food bothered me, what food was better for me. And then I had my first child, who's now 8.5. And when I had her and it hit the 6-month mark when she should start eating, I was given a piece of paper from my pediatrician, basically telling me that I should feed her things like, ham, albeit blended. And oh my goodness, and obviously formula milk, which I was breastfeeding her at the time, just paps, loads of different food that I just think anybody with a few brain cells would have read that piece of paper that did have HIP and Nestle on it. So obviously was sponsored. And I just was like, there's something wrong here. Like, this is crazy. Like, if the World Health Organization has deemed processed and cured meats as carcinogens, why is my pediatrician telling me to give my 6-month-old this food? Or maybe when she was 8 months or whatever else. So I started quizzing him about it. And he was quite very, very, very nice man and very honest, and basically said to me, look, maybe you know more than me. I don't know. Like, this is what I'm told to say. I'm a pediatrician. He's not a health coach or a nutritionist. So then I started, reading more into it. I started making healthier food. I started realizing that a lot of the things that I'd been brought up eating maybe weren't so healthy. By that time, I was already a pescatarian, so I only ate fish. And I must say, I've never had cheese in my life. I've never understood why people eat dairy. I just thought it was a really bizarre concept, which did make the jump to veganism much easier, because I do know that cheese is addictive. It has casomorphins in it. It hits part of your brain that the drugs hit. So I get that. But, you can definitely live without it with a bit of practice. Anyway, then I started watching different documentaries. I was obviously reading more. I did a course from eCornell and the Colin T. Campbell Institute online in plant-based nutrition. And I just said, that's it, I'm going vegan. I went vegan slowly but surely. I think I made the move, but then I didn't really tell anyone I was vegan for about a year. That's, of course, me eating plant-based. And then it took a while for the lifestyle also to become vegan. So I still own a lot of, leather bags and things that I bought in my day. But now I do buy any vegan products wherever possible. And my family, they're not all vegan, but they, bless them, they humor me and they eat only plant-based food at home. So we're healthy vegans, plant-based, whole foods. My son's probably the one most into it. The baby at the moment is a pescatarian. My daughter's seeing what she wants. So my son will eat, 90% plant-based food. My husband, but when we go out, he might, occasionally have a bit of chicken, fish, or something else. But yeah, it's up to them. Everyone's on their own journey. So that's how I got more and more into it. But I have a passion for veganism. I just think if the world all understood it, if they knew what they were doing, if they weren't hiding behind their finger and just pretending that what they're eating is okay, or that there's sustainable farming, which there isn't, we'd be in a better place. And I just think if people could be kinder, then the world would just be more lovely. And it is lovely, but we can do better.
Definitely. And so I guess you also bring that, or probably have like nice creations in the Thai restaurant. I actually wanted to go there, but in the end, I didn't make it in the last days in Cyprus. But next time.
Never mind. Never mind. Golden Monkey is waiting for you. When you're next in Cyprus, definitely book. It's lovely. So yes, Golden Monkey is not a vegan restaurant, but we do have vegan options even now for Christmas, New Year's, any special occasions, we'll do our set menu, but we'll always have a vegan option. And that applies to the whole hotel. Because it's not just vegans that want vegan options. It's people who maybe they're just, turkeyed out and they don't want any more meat. Maybe it's people who are fasting. And in the Greek Orthodox religion, we spend, nearly 200 days a year fasting, 180, I think it is. So every Wednesdays, Fridays, and fasting periods, Lent and everything else. It's people who have, milk or milk intolerances or so many other things. So we always have vegan options in from our room service to all our menus. Sailors Rest also has, and we have a pure vegan restaurant, which we're the first in Cyprus to have a vegan restaurant at our beach. There's the first hotel vegan restaurant, which is really exciting. And we do actually get quite a lot of bookings for the hotel based on having that option. So it's really yummy food. And the idea is, to show people that you don't have to flick around a piece of kale on your plate to have a good meal if you're vegan, or if you just want a plant-based meal.
Yeah.
So everyone who has even one meal that's vegan is doing their bit for the planet.
Yeah, and
so
probably
everyone try.
Sorry, and probably also healthy vegan food, because this is also sometimes what people say. If you just use all these extra products, like how do you like processed products, then it's not also
it's not so healthy. Yeah, you can be a junk food vegan. Yeah, which I'm all up for as well. I mean, you're still saving a lot of animals' lives and saving the planet, but you're definitely not saving your body. So you can be whole food, plant-based. You're doing that extra bit for your body. It takes a bit of time to get your head round, cooking that way, which is why I've got this platform, Cook Vegan. But it's much easier said than done, and it's really fun. It's really fun doing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm going to check the recipes in your book, because I have it, and see if there is something I want to make over the holidays.
Definitely try the chestnut loaf roast. Really
okay.
good.
Thank you for the tip. Yeah, I'm going to check that out later. So a question I would have, because it sounds you are actually busy, obviously, like with all the responsibilities, with your family, with your interests. How do you manage stress? What is your recipe for stress management?
Oh, well, I think there's several things here. One is not to take life too seriously. You've got to have a bit of humor, and you've got to, be kind to yourself. So that's the main thing. So we all put a lot of pressure on ourselves about doing our best, about being perfect, about getting everything done. But you've got to, step back from that and say, well, I just did my best today, and my best is good enough. It might not be that everything's perfect. You might not have achieved everything you wanted to do that day. But if you did your best, that's good enough. You've just got to, give yourself some slack. Definitely have some humor and laugh about things. If something goes wrong, if your kid spills something on the way out or puts on their shoes in the wrong way, or you're late for your meeting or whatever, just laugh it off. Just, be kind, and it's okay. Don't take life too seriously. And the other thing is try and give yourself that bit of time. So, a lot of people talk about meditating and prayer and, having a bit of alone time. I mean, I'd love to have more alone time, which I don't get, but it might be, and I always give this example when I give talks, just get to school 5 minutes early and sit in your car in silence, not on your phone, just in silence, 5-10 minutes, have that time, listen to music or go on a walk or do some yoga or whatever it might be. If you can do one thing a day for you, then that's really important. I don't manage it every day. And on the days I don't manage it, if 2, 3, 4 days build up like that, then I'll start getting super stressed. But if I can then just hold myself back and say, you know what, I'm good. Or just on my way home, just pull the car over and watch the sea for a couple of minutes and just have that time and breathe. That's really important. And of course, sleep. Sleep is tough, especially for me now with 3 kids. But, if you sleep well, or if you have a good night's sleep, it makes a big, big difference for your life. That's for sure. I mean, my youngest is 2 and I'm still breastfeeding, so I haven't slept in years, like a full night. But I have humor about it, and then I just think, well, even a few hours is better than nothing. And it's all good. Yeah. So.
Okay, makes sense. And I guess with big responsibilities also come challenges. So I would love to hear some of the bigger challenges you have tackled, and how you have done that. It might have been personal challenges. It might have been like with the role you're in, or whatever, some life changes. Would you give us some examples and how you handled them?
Sure. So two challenges immediately come to mind. One is, well, actually, I'd say three. So one is, where do I start now? Okay, I don't want to pull the card because I hate pulling this card of being a woman and working, but I will pull it just for this podcast and do the I'm a woman and I'm in a man's world. But I would say my advice to anybody listening to this who maybe is young and starting off on their career is don't give it too much importance. So that has been a challenge at some points in my life, being a woman, especially in my industry, in tourism and in hotels. So luckily in my industry, it is about a 50-50 split, which is great. There are a lot of women working in the field or in hotels, and there's a lot of men. But the difference is when you get to the top, then it's not so many. So you are definitely one of few. I wouldn't say I'm the only one, but I'm one of few. I mean, and I think in Cyprus, maybe it's even more apparent. We see even less. So really, we don't see any female general managers. We see very few female leaders, and especially in my industry. There are some, but there's not many. Most of the time, it's the sons that take over the family businesses and not women. And there's various reasons behind that. So I would say that was a bit of a challenge in itself. First of all, having to just basically not give it importance and be like, well, I'm a woman, but that's fine. I don't care. And if I get the odd comment, which I have done from, older men in the profession, I'm just going to ignore it. And then I would say that leads me on to the second challenge, which was a bigger challenge for me, was one of being privileged. So coming from a privileged background is great. And everybody, I think, when they look at me or someone like me, they think, oh, wow, your life must be so great, or you've been handed things on a silver platter, or life's been easy for you. But actually, it can be tough. I'm not shedding and the tears. I don't want to flick a tear away now and expect anyone to cry for me. But it's difficult because people look at someone who is the daughter of, or the child of, or the grandchild of, and they say, well, it's easy for you. It was easy for you to get to the top. And actually it wasn't. You have to, first of all, convince your family that you're good enough to do it. And there's a lot of people who have, it's their business, it's their asset as well. So they're like, well, I don't know if you're good enough to do it. And you've got to prove yourself to them and, really fight for that role. And really, it's harder than if you were just, someone from outside coming in and working your way up. I mean, I really had to be like, I'm good enough, I can do this. And so that was tough. And then prove to the outside world. I mean, when I started, I was a sales executive, and I had, managers and general managers and people who just thought, oh, well, you're not going to be here for long, or you're just going to be on top of me without me, having to train you, or you don't really know what you're doing and you never will, and I'm not going to give you any respect for that. Or it might have been people thinking, well, this is my one time that I'm above you and I'm going to make you feel it. So I had a lot of challenges early on, and I did feel quite emotional at some points in my life. But again, I didn't dwell on it. What didn't kill me made me harder. And I just kept on battling through and, really learning by myself. When I started, that nobody wanted to teach me anything. And I literally had to sit in this office on my own and open files. And I did that for 6 months, just reading, what is an education, or what do people do on business dinners? What happened here? What does this mean? What do quotations look like? What do rates look like? What are bar rates? What are rack rates? And just teach myself. The learning curve was quite strong, but it was fun. I mean, it was fun. Now looking back, I don't think the younger me would have said that. And then my third challenge that I will mention now is definitely probably my biggest, which was being a business leader and a working mum. So after having kids, that was a massive game changer for me. I was used to traveling pretty much half the year for work and being free and independent and doing business dinners, 5 to 7 nights a week and sleeping on 4 hours and getting up to work and traveling to like 4 countries in a week. And suddenly I was a mum of this precious angel. And in my pregnancy, I was still traveling. So right until the doctor said, right, you can't travel anymore. You're going to give birth in a few weeks. I was like, that's okay. And I was telling colleagues in different countries, oh, I'll see you in a few months. I'll be back. You know, I didn't really put a lot of thought onto what it would mean to have this little being who depends wholeheartedly on you. You know, you are their everything. So having Yasmina was massive for me. And then having to balance, you know, being in the position I was in and having this little person. And then just when I thought, okay, I'm all right. And then I had number 2. And then again, I managed. And then number 3 came along. So it's been really fun, but it's been tough. There's been many moments where I felt definitely breakdown or burnout points. But, you know, you get through and you manage. And I think you realize that maybe when you're not doing either job perfectly, that's when you've hit the balance. So when you're not maybe the best mum you can be that day or the best business leader you could be that day, then that's the balance. Because if you're being, you know, the best business leader possible, then chances are you weren't there for your kids that much that day. And then if you're the best mummy you can be, chances are you've kind of neglected your business at that point. So it's a bit of give and take, and a bit of learning and cartwheeling and juggling and everything else. But it's been definitely fun and a challenge that I've enjoyed rising up to. Wouldn't have it any other way.
I love all of these examples, and we obviously could go into each one of them a bit deeper because it's so interesting. And I have 2 more questions because I know you have to go to your next meeting. One more is, I was also part of a family business, the art world, like an art gallery. I decided at some point to just follow my own and not take over the art gallery due to several reasons. And yeah, I know it can be, it is a challenge because you're in it. And at the same point, what you said, like the proving energy and all of that, it sounds you have gone through all challenges very, very nicely. And why? Like so many people, they just have one of these challenges and they basically, you know, go into burnout and they break and depression or whatever. And it sounds you're going through all of them somehow with ease. You keep going. So what is it? Is it something, perhaps some kind of resilience in your family? Or would you say there are some people in your family that are like this person, like a mentor or a rock or so to you? Or is it a belief you follow? What do you think is the reason?
I'm more of a believer in nurture. And I think that we maybe are born with tendencies, but we develop according to our environment. Yes, definitely there's been mentors in my life and people that I've not just admired, actually, people that I've decided I don't want to be like. So there are, I think that's probably shaped me even more, seeing different people, and saying, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my husband to bits, but I don't want to be dependent on a husband. I want to be independent. And you know, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want my kids to have something to look up to and look forward to. Not that I have anything against stay-at-home moms. I think they're fabulous, and I think there's not a bigger privilege than bringing up the next generation, and what a role that is. But that wasn't the role that I decided I wanted in my life. However, I don't want my kids to miss out on one single iota of having full-time mum. So that is my main role, is to be their mummy, and I will give them my all. But I explained to them that, you know, mummy's also got this other side. I do want to carry on this legacy for the family, and I do want to keep this hotel, you know, just a leading hotel, to make it into something amazing and move it forward as well. So I love having challenges, but I would say, yes, I'm by nature a positive person, so that's definitely helped me. I like challenges, so that's definitely helped me. I have definitely had low moments in my life. I've cried rivers at certain periods of my life, but I've always come out stronger and wiser. I'm a firm believer in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I've almost looked for difficult times or been ready for them with the knowledge that I'll be okay. Like I've always believed I'll be okay, and I can do it. There's nothing I can't do. And I tell my kids, there's nothing you can't do. You can be anything you want to be. So I love a challenge, and I believe we can do a lot of things. And I think that it's fun doing loads of things and balancing loads of things. So I'm looking forward to what I'm doing now and to the next chapter and whatever that might bring.
And I think that's a great one. Like there's knowing that every challenge like just brings you to the next point. And I don't know how you said it, but it comes more from a perspective of there is so much more potential in us than we think, instead of, like if you can do anything, then you have like a much broader perspective working towards, instead of like, I can only do this tiny bit. Then you're from the beginning on focusing on the tiny part of your experience, so to say, or existence. So that's good. And the two last things I want to ask you first, a little bit, just like some sentences around money mindset. I guess you, coming from your background, you probably haven't experienced great existential fear around money, I guess, but you probably have still done had to do big investment decisions and stuff like that. So perhaps some ideas around money mindset that you could give to the business owners who are listening.
Sometimes people with money, they have more fear about losing it than other people because, well, firstly, the more you have to lose. And secondly, people, growing up with money usually are surrounded by other people who have money. And many people lose money, so they see it. They see it with their family. They see people fight over money. They see people spend too much and lose it. They see people make mistakes and go bankrupt. So I think a lot of people do have that fear. And it also depends on different cultures. I mean, I grew up, a huge part of my upbringing was in the UK. And the UK definitely has a mindset of preserving family assets. And of course, there's huge inheritance tax as well in the UK and in many places in the world. And this creates a huge fear of having your family heirlooms taken from you and your assets being taken from you. So people, they don't want to spend it. They want to preserve it. So I saw that a lot in many people. I saw many people lose what they were given. I've seen how money has destroyed families and relationships. And that's definitely not something that I want. So I have never taken money for granted. I've always believed that even if you have a safety net, you still have to go out there and earn and work. Otherwise, it's so easy. I mean, the amount of millionaires, multimillionaires we see that end up with no money, which is obvious. I mean, if you spend, a fortune every year, that pie can only last for so long, My mindset with money, however, is I wouldn't say not to put emphasis on it, but I've never been worried, let's say, about losing it or not having it. So I've always focused on the positive side of it, of having it and making more and growing it. We go into The Secret now, which I don't have this philosophy because of The Secret, but that's how I think I've always been. So I've always been very grateful for the safety net that has been provided to me, which is amazing. I mean, my father bought me my first home and my first car and everything else. So that what a start in life. And I've never taken that for granted, that I didn't have to, start off in life by trying to get on the property ladder or worried about how I get from A to B. However, that didn't make me think, oh, well, that's it, I'm done now. I was like, no, well, I want to now build my own home. I was lucky enough to have that. Now I want to earn and create more, make more. And now I want to keep making and give that safety net to my children. So I already, save money and put it aside for my 3 kids. And and I just have this mindset about growing and, having this vision and of making things bigger and better. And
No, I like that. It's like you said, the optimism that you have, and then putting it also into or creating like money mindset on that, or having your money mindset based on that. And we could go into The Secret, but I guess many people are familiar with it so because I also talk about law of attraction and what you focus on expands and so on. So that fits it. Okay. And the last question would be for you, just anything you would like to share with the listeners, with the audience today to wrap up.
Oh my goodness. Well, my one closing comment would be, please eat more vegan meals. So If you're not familiar with veganism, do follow me on any platform that you like. And hopefully I'll prove to you that vegans are not annoying people. They can be, but hopefully I'm not. I don't have to be like anyone. So a lot of vegans just get overly passionate because they've seen the light and they want to share all that information with people out there. So yeah, if you're interested to learn more, you can also buy my book on Amazon. And yeah, if you can just have, one meal a week, start off with 1 day a week that's plant-based. I promise you won't miss meat or fish or dairy that day, but you'll just feel lighter and better, and you'll really make a difference to animal suffering, in the world, and and also just the planet. Let's try and preserve this beautiful planet that we live on, and be positive, be happy, be healthy. Show everyone you love them. Say kind things to as many people as we can. I think the pandemic has made so many people bitter, and people have lost their patience. They've just become so demanding and mean. And I think we need to really remember who we are, and that most people are good. Like one of my favorite country music songs. So most people are good. So show everyone your goodness. Be kind. Be kind to animals, be kind to your kids and your mum and your dad and your friends, and say that they look nice in that dress or that shirt, and make people feel good about themselves. And that's it. And thank you so much, Lydia, for having me on. It's really been nice.
Yeah, it was lovely talking to you. And we obviously have your links in the show notes for everyone interested in the book or the Facebook group, and also the area in Limassol. So thank you for your time and your wisdom and your optimism today, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. You too. All the best. Take care, my dear.
Did you like this podcast episode? Then please share it with people who you know could benefit from it. Also, I would be super grateful if you could leave me a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It would mean such a lot to me. If you want to stay connected with me, please join my Telegram channel for daily mini reminders around mindset, business growth, investing, and living life to the fullest. Or message me directly on Instagram or LinkedIn. You will find all the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and until the next episode. Much love, Lydia.